Okay, Carol.
Thank you. I was first on the agenda for this item in January, so I'm really happy to be on first today.
Actually, you're better because you get to report on some things we wouldn't have been able to
That's right, we
report
have
on.
some new developments, so I've had to actually edit it each time I've been on the agenda because there's new things happening. But what I want to talk to you today about is new tools that we're using to communicate with our writers. And there's a lot of things happening in this world. First, I'd like to tell you a little bit about my position. It's a unique position. I manage the IT department and marketing, which includes creative services. So this whole world and new tools happens in that space. And it's a space where kind of creativity in the marketing department meets the innovation in the IT department. And then, to use an IT term, it's called the mashup. And in this creative space, a lot of fun things are happening to inform our writers. First, I'd like to tell you about some industry trends. As you know, we have a budget crisis. Service cuts, and that less service in our mind doesn't mean that it means less customer service. In fact, as we cut service on the street, we're increasing our efforts at customer service because we think that the writer's experience is something that we still have within our control to do extremely well. And it also means that, of course, everybody needs to do more with less. Another transit industry trend is a growth in choice writers. And we're seeing a lot more choice writers in our system. We do annual surveys to find out who's writing and a little bit about them. And we know that about 80% of our writers are choice writers. So that means that they have a car or they could afford a car but are making that trip on TriMet. So as we get more of these choice writers, they want better access to information. They want interactive web for trip planning, real-time arrivals. They're using mobile devices. So those are some trends in the transit industry. This meets up with some trends in technology. One of the big trends is growth and explosion in social media. And of course, one of the fastest growing social media modes is Twitter, and TriMet is on Twitter. We're using it extensively for alerts. We're not able to respond to all of the Twitter traffic to answer every piece of information, but we are using it for alerts. Another technology trend is the internet is going mobile. The internet is more and more in people's hands rather than through a computer device. And that means that mobile apps for everything are going to be not just nice, but a necessity. Another technology trend is a trend toward open data. And what that means is that you make your data available to the public, or to developers in this case. You take that data and do really innovative and exciting things with it. So we're making our data available to the public. We've been doing that for quite a while. It's one of the reasons that we were first on Google Transit, because our data was available. We helped develop the speed specifications for transferring data to Google, which now is used throughout the world and is used by developers all over for transit data of all sorts. The Obama administration has embraced open data through a directive. Their city contest. The city of Portland just launched one last week, challenging developers to create something with data, and transit data is included in that challenge. So more information is available and more information is expected. I want to quickly talk about customer information, the way we view communicating with our writers, which is really 3 phases of a trip. Before the trip, how they plan the trip. They need to know about routes, schedules, maps, all the things that you need to know before you take the trip. When you're out at the street, people want to know they're at the right stop, and they really want to know when the bus is coming. or when the train is coming. And then when you're on board, you want to know where to get off. And sometimes that can create some anxiety if you don't know the area. And you want to know about transfers if you're making a transfer. When's that? How long am I going to have to wait? So we now have new tools for all phases of the trip. Pre-trip, the old tools are 238 Ride, the call center. We still make extensive use of that. People call that to get information on all kinds of things. In fact, we get 20,000 to 25,000 customers helped in the call center every month. But we have a lot of new tools to help with that. We're relying less and less on the old tools of schedules and maps as people are turning to the web to get information. And by cutting back and selectively cutting back on the places that we put our schedules and maps, we saved $45,000 over the last year. So it can be some significant cost savings as well. The most popular tool on our website is the online trip planner. And this is the best tool we have probably. It tells people how to plan their trip. And our surveys tell us that about 90% of our writers have access to the web. So they have access to this information. We get about 8 million unique visits a year to our website. And the number one reason that people visit our website is to plan a trip. Google does an annual report where they publish what people are looking for, what they're searching for in a particular area. And the TriMet Trip Planner is the number one thing people are searching in Portland. So it tells you how much use this gets. It gets more hits than the Trailblazers or UCC or Portland State or the other ones that are kind of at the top. So TriMet is the top of class. This just shows the growth in the trip planner. We get a little over 4 million trips planned every year. We have a new interactive map that will help make it easier for people to plan a trip. Not only do you get text about planning the trip, you can see it on a map. This shows a trip that's planned from the airport to downtown on the red line. So it shows up like that. You can get all kinds of information on the interactive map, including going into this view, into a satellite view, where you can see access to the stops, the amenities. You can get schedules, you can get real-time arrival data. All of that information is available through the interactive map. The application also incorporates walking, driving, and new this year, biking directions to the platform. So all that data is readily available to plan a trip. We also have something we call TriMet TV, which is an in-house production, low cost, with a lot of trip planning tools. You can watch on our website, on YouTube, or download a podcast. And of course, another piece of information that people want are information on service changes or disruptions. And you hear about the big disruptions, but we have small disruptions all the time with little construction or maybe a fire or an accident where our buses have to make a detour for a few hours. And the best way to get that kind of information out is something like Twitter, which pushes information out to people in real time when they're out on the street. They get notified that maybe their bus isn't serving that stop. So there's some very powerful tools to help us out there, and we're really going from what used to be a couple of years ago, putting out an A board, to now Twitter on your handheld device.